I want to turn my attention to an act of cultural and intellectual vandalism whose effects are now rippling across the Atlantic. What began as a characteristically Philistian or Philistine purge of science and equity in Donald Trump's America is now strangling British research. In an era when global challenges demand deeper cooperation, we're witnessing instead a transatlantic money grab, a politicised sacking of the Temple of Reason. Donald Trump's second term has launched an ideological crusade against science, research, diversity. Days into office, he signed orders slashing budgets and freezing grants. Most notably, he proposed gutting the $47 billion budget of the National Institutes of Health by 40%. The US Agency for International Development has been effectively dismantled. USAID's portfolio, once a beacon of hope for developing communities, was butchered under Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who announced the cancellation of 83% of its programs. But this is no austerity measure. It's a deliberate ideological purge. The administration has targeted research mentioning equity, minority health, or LGBTQ plus populations. Some 780 NIH grants have already been axed, including maternal health studies, autism research, and cancer treatments for underrepresented groups. Meanwhile, universities like Harvard and Columbia, once global bastions of research, are embroiled in lawsuits just to retain access to already awarded funds. DEI programs have been criminalized in all but name. Universities are being forced to delete terms like white supremacy and gender from academic materials to preserve their funding. Even compliance has offered no protection. Ohio State University fired 16 DEI staff only to lose 10 grants a month later. And this is no longer now just an American problem. At least 23 research projects at UK universities have now been suspended or cancelled because of these cuts. Durham, Leeds, Liverpool, Nottingham and Southampton are among those directly affected. At Liverpool, a project designed to improve child nutrition through poultry farming in Ethiopia, a humane, humble initiative, was abandoned midstream. The World Population Modelling Programme at Southampton, relied upon for global health planning, is frozen. At Durham, a grant from the British Association for American Studies was cancelled after the BAAS refused to remove diversity considerations from its funding criteria. And it gets worse. Nottingham lost funding for a project supporting the US Institute of Peace, an institute Trump ordered dismantled. Another Nottingham study on forced child begging in Niger was interrupted. Cambridge has seen 10 projects affected via its US collaborators. Queen Mary lost 4 medical research partnerships. Some of these projects were nearing completion. Others, like Durham's visual culture outreach for local school children, never get off the ground. This is the intellectual equivalent of book burning by spreadsheet. What are we witnessing? Not fiscal restraint, but a cultural counter-revolution. This is the moneyed hand of ideology dressed up as budget discipline. Trump's playbook is crude: silence the scientific classes, purge progressive inquiry, punish those who speak about race, gender, sexuality, international solidarity. Why? Because research exposes truth, and truth is inconvenient for demagogues. If maternal health research shows that black women die in childbirth at 3 times the rate of white women, Trump's answer is not to fix the problem, it's to kill the study. If anti-poverty work suggests Western policy can alleviate hunger, his instinct is to cut the funding and blame the globalists. Even Republican Senator Susan Collins has warned that cures for Alzheimer's, childhood cancers, and diabetes are being delayed or lost altogether. The US is no longer leading the world in innovation, it's leading a retreat into ignorance. And what of Britain? We're now living with the consequences of dependency. Over a dozen Russell Group universities relied on US federal support, and that pipeline is now poisoned by ideology. Our intellectual ecosystem is at the mercy of a man who doesn't read briefings, who believes windmills cause cancer, who regards university researchers as parasites. We face a stark choice. Either we treat research as a luxury dependent on American largesse, or we reassert the value of knowledge as a public good. That means domestic funding, academic independence, and the courage to uphold truth against tyranny. This isn't simply about funding, it's about who we are. Do we believe in evidence, inquiry, and equality, or do we sell off our minds to the highest bidder? The barbarians not just at the gate, they're managing the grant system, and they're led by a man whose vision for higher education is built on sand, slogans, and spite.